Morning. Are you coming in then?
Good morning, and what a show we got lined up for you today. Today's going to be a good one. The very funny, the first time ever he's been at the house, David Baddiel will be here. Yay! He'll be joining me at the house and tucking into a dish of monkfish and an amazing lamb masala. Romy Gill is back as well. Yay! She's making another appearance in my kitchen. This time she's sharing her recipes for pakoras. And Saturday morning newcomer, Emily Scott, I'm excited about that, is on her way from Cornwall, as she's coming to cook for us a little bit later. First Dates barman Merlin Griffiths is back. Yay! Sam's very happy about that, because she likes a cocktail or two. He's going to be sharing more brilliant recipes for cocktails, and we're getting Easter ready. I'm giving you a masterclass in making the perfect hot cross bun. But the preparations for Easter start right now, because on the show, I'm going to be creating a brilliant recipe using lamb, which we definitely want to have on your table next weekend. So, I'm going to introduce you to this amazing person that produces this lamb in a second. But this recipe is pretty straightforward. It's slightly unusual when you think about it, but it's lamb cooked in hay. And it's really simple, but it tastes amazing. Now, you can do lamb like this, chicken like this is brilliant as well. So you could just take a tray, oven tray with hay. Pet shop hay. That's what you want. Not out the hutch, because you've got bits of sultanas in there that are not very pleasant in your lamb with hay, but just normal pet shop hay, all right? That's it. But it produces this lovely sort of earthy sort of smell when it cooks. It's absolutely amazing. And we increase the flavour of that with just a little bit of lavender. Now, this is not soap lavender. This is lavender that you cook with. There are big differences. And you'll notice that if you get the wrong one, it's not good. So you've just got a little bit of lavender in here, and then we take some rosemary. So you can just use hay on its own, but all you're doing is just creating this nice little sort of bed for this to sort of sit on and cook on as well. So that's it. That's all the preparation you need to do with that. So that's that bit done. The lamb I've got over here, I've got some beautiful salt marsh lamb. I'm going to introduce you to in a minute, but we're going to take this lamb like that, and then, using some butter, spread this over the top with salt and pepper. So just some softened butter like that over the top. Now, if you didn't want to do it with lamb, you could do it with chicken, but the same process applies. So cover it over with butter rather than oil, over the top. That's it. Make sure it's all over there. And then we're going to season that with salt and pepper. Now, the oven that I've set for this is set at 200 degrees. So quite a hot oven. And you want to cook this, depending on the size of it, particularly with a lamb like this, probably about an hour and 20 minutes, an hour and a half, depending on the size of it. So salt over the top, some black pepper. No need to cover it. You just cook it as it is like this, just simply. You don't need to baste it as well. Once it goes in the oven, you kind of forget about it, and then just take it all out, leave it to rest. I've got one in the bottom of here. So while this goes in the oven, I'm going to go and introduce you now to the person who's behind this and produces this amazing lamb. We're going to go down to the Gower Peninsula in Wales, an amazing part of the world, to speak to Will Pritchard from Gower Salt Marsh Lamb. So, Will, welcome to the show.
Hi, James. Thanks for having me.
Now, you're inside because the weather in Wales is predictable, shall we say?
It's predictably unpredictable. We had an absolutely marvellous day yesterday. It would have been fantastic out there filming. But today, unfortunately,
it can change in minutes there as well. It's a beautiful part of the world. I absolutely love it. So remind everybody, first of all, where you are in terms of on a map.
So on a map, we're on the Gower Peninsula. So it's South Wales, and we're about 20 minutes west of Swansea on the south coast. Just we're the start of West Wales, basically. It's a beautiful part of the world.
It is a beautiful part of the world, all along that coastline as well. You've got the Mumbles and all around there. It's a glorious part of the world, all the way down that sort of coastline as well. So, but your family farm, I've got the lamb over here. Hopefully I've done it justice. I'm going to turn this into something as well. But your farm as well, so you're third generations of lamb farmers.
Yeah, we've been on this farm. Yeah, I think my grandfather got the place in the 1950s, maybe, something like that. And we're farmers on Gower before then as well. So we've been going back a few generations now, yes.
Is it your grandfather bought it and didn't realise that it came with a castle?
But yeah, we're lucky enough. We've got a farm and a castle all in one, which is pretty unusual. So yeah, a castle which comes with the farm, Webley Castle, which is absolutely fantastic for us. it brings us tourists in the summer when we're in season with our lamb as well. So it works well.
And the area itself as well, it wasn't always producing Saltmarsh lamb, because chefs have known about this for 30, 40 years, the quality of it and everything else. But you were just, what was your grandfather farming? Was he producing, was it always producing that?
Back in it was a dairy farm and a lamb farm. So we were running lambs out on the marsh. It was Saltmarsh lamb, I suppose, but no, back then no one really knew what it was.
Yeah.
So it was just sold as conventional lamb, I think, back then. So obviously in the last 30 years, everyone's got a bit more aware of what Saltmarsh lamb is and how unique it is, and we went from there really. But before then, it was just lamb.
Well, saying you work with other farmers as well, and you sort of farm your land as well. But it's been going for what, 20 years? You've been doing this?
We started Gower Saltmarsh lamb in 2004 actually. So we'll be having our 20th birthday this summer, and we've gone from strength to strength really. We did it when the price of lamb wasn't very good, and it just gave us the opportunity to have a fixed price on our lamb, so we know how much we're getting for it, and we can control the demand for it and the supply. And it's a good thing we've done, yeah.
Well, I mean, I could wax lyrical about... I mean, I'm passionate about farming, as you know, but lamb farmers and like yourselves and throughout the whole of the UK, but Wales as well, dairy farmers as well, I think it's so important to help you guys out, because once you've gone, you've gone. And it's... Yeah. It's so important, and at least to taste the quality of this. So first of all, why is your lamb different? Is that, I mean, obviously on the salt marshes, but is that slower growing? Do you get lambs later on in the season? Why is yours so different?
Yeah, so it's purely because of the salt marshery. The breeds we use are much the same as elsewhere. But yeah, they're on the salt marsh for a long period of their life, well over 50% of their life, probably more like 70%. All the grasses and the fescues and the herbs which only grow on marshes is the diet of our sheep and lambs. That goes into them, and that's where this unique flavour comes from, really.
And I'm assuming it comes with... I mean, we can see footage of the salt marsh. It's absolutely beautiful. The area must be quite massive, is it? I mean, it looks like thousands of acres that you've got there.
It's a lot of acres. I couldn't tell you how many acres it is. I know it's roughly about 8-9 miles in width, wow. And then about 2 miles, 2 miles in, or 2 miles the other way. Then, so it's a big old area of land to farm. Yes. So
it must come with its pluses. Obviously, the pluses are the quality of the end product, but minuses it that the actual husbandry of the farm and everything else that comes with it must be quite difficult. Do you still use sheep dogs and stuff like that? But it's how do you control that amount of space with the lambs and everything else?
They're very free range. There's not a huge amount of control sometimes. They can walk anywhere they want on that marsh. But yeah, this morning my father was out there having a look at them in this sort of weather. So that's the only negative side of it, really. The positive is the product we end up with. But yeah, the weather down there, it's always windy. The tides. We need to get out there with usually in our truck with good couple of sheepdogs. When we know when there's the tide coming in, it's going to cover the marsh, and we go out there and we have to bring the sheep and the lambs in. And so it's a lot of work, but it's definitely worth it. When you taste this lamb now, you'll know it's worth it.
Well, I know I mentioned that at the top of this. As a chef, we've raved about salt marsh lamb for years, but now you've got the status for it. You have a thing. Is it GI status in the UK? It's PGI elsewhere, but is it GI they call it in the UK? It's got to be from that area?
It's a GI scheme. I'm not going to know what everything means now, but we've got a PDO on our lamb, a protected destination origin, and it means that only saltmarsh lamb bred a certain criteria which we meet can be called as Gower saltmarsh lamb. They've got to be on the marsh for a certain period of time, for over 50% of their lives. And certain things like that. So that's such a proud accolade for us to have this last 2 years. It really sets us apart. And essentially what it means is that our lamb is like champagne can only be made in Champagne. So it puts our lamb on that sort of pedestal, you know. Well,
I think you've sold it to me anyway, and I just wanted to say thank you for all you're doing, really, because you know there's a lot said and topical at the moment with farmers in Europe and everything else, and we know how difficult it is that you guys work, and you've only got to step outside like you described. The weather's not been ideal for you, and you're doing that day in, day out. So I wanted to thank you on behalf of, well, all of us, me as well as chefs, to say thank you for all the work you're doing, because without you, I mean, you're in the third generation, like you said, this doesn't exist. And this is an incredible amount of work that you're doing as well. And you do this day in and day out. And I want to take this opportunity, not just welcome you on the show and wish you all the very best of luck, but thank you as well, because without you doing all this work, we don't get the fruits of your labour and the quality that we've got in here. But you can see this, look, and I say this all the time, you have to question yourself, you know, when lamb is produced over the fence, and it's produced at cost for more than it costs for somebody to ship New Zealand lamb from all around the world over, and you've got this quality right on your doorstep. We need to embrace it, use it, and consume it more, because this is what food is all about, like that. We've got a beautiful bit of lamb. I've got a beautiful little bit of sauce with it as well. Hopefully, well, I've done it justice here. But
it looks pretty good, James, in all fairness.
Looks all right. It's not my first rodeo, Will, but, you know, we're trying. But a little bit of that as well. But there we have it. Proper, authentic Gower Peninsula Welsh lamb. Easy as that. Yeah. Will, thank you so much for coming on, and I wish you all the very best of luck as well. And you live in a beautiful part of the world.
We're very lucky to be here,
yeah. I love Wales. Thank you very much for coming on. Right, still to come, we've got dishes from chefs Romy Gill and Emily Scott, and I'll be joined at the house by comedian and author David Baddiel very shortly. But join us again after the break, when we're off to Spain on another one of my food adventures. I'll see you in a minute, but before you go, this is what it's all about, tasting this, because when you get ingredients in this good, welcome back. Now, coming up, I'll be enjoying a recipe from the brilliant chef Emily Scott. And David Baddiel will be pulling up the chair into my kitchen very shortly. But before that, I thought I'd take a look at some of the amazing dishes you've been making at home. So first up, a big well done goes to Teresa Headley, who had a go at making that apple cake I made on the show a few months ago. It looks fantastic there, lovely little bit of sugary glaze on the top, Teresa. I bet it tasted amazing with a dollop of cream. Next up, we've got Robert Bine, who sent us a photograph of a fresh lentil dal that he made. Very arty camera work there. And I bet you it tastes as good as it looks. Brilliant stuff there, Robert. And finally, this week, top marks has to go to Harry Sanderson, who recreated the chicken and tarragon pie I made in a masterclass recently. It's probably one of my most popular masterclasses. Hundreds, if not thousands of you had a go at it as well. Really simple to make. You poach the chicken, utilise the stock to make the sauce, and it ends up like that with a little bit of pastry work on there as well. Right, it's time now for another recipe, and we're heading off to Spain for another one of my food adventures. This week, I'm back in Madrid, where I'm taking a tour of the city's markets with an inspirational food critic. Enjoy this one. I'm in Spain's capital, Madrid, known for world-class galleries, impressive architecture, and, of course, fantastic cuisine. Next, I'm off to meet a man who's fast becoming a bit of a local legend. Blind food critic Jonathan Armengol won a TV cookery competition back in 2016. He's invited me to go food shopping along with his guide dog, Callo, so he can cook for me back at his place. What a gent. So, how do you know where the market is?
Okay, usually the smelling, let's smell. It smells nice. It smells, for instance, meat on your right and other flavors.
You can smell the meat on your right now?
Yes, sure. It's easy.
Yeah. This is Mercado Santa Maria de la Cabeza, which is a little local gem just outside the city centre, selling everything you need to cook up a feast, which Jonathan does regularly on his YouTube channel.
Okay, I'm ordering for a salad.
Yeah.
Tomate de ensalada y un poquito de cebolleta, por ejemplo.
Vale.
Okay?
This fascinates me, the YouTube channel that you do. So you get chefs to cook 2 dishes.
Yes, they cook 2 dishes. One dish is what do you want to cook with me?
Yeah.
And then I said, okay, maybe you want to fulfill my rule. How can you cook with a mask if you cannot see anything? And most of them put a mask and they start cooking, and obviously with my help because we don't want to have any accident. And when you are preparing the dish,
Yeah.
it looks horrible because you are not looking at anything. And they put out the mask and they said, "Oh my God!" And I always said, "Okay, but it's really good to eat, but not to have a look."
Yeah. But your senses, you know, I've gone through this. I did a TV program where they cover your eyes for 24 hours. Your senses go overload, and it's fascinating.
Yes, it's
smell, taste,
yes,
hearing.
In 5 minutes, you start to feel, to listen, for instance, to feel the temperature.
Yeah.
You smell more because you need more information.
Yeah.
It's really different, but it's not difficult.
Where next? Where do we go next?
Okay, we need to buy the lamb. Buen día, señor Francisco, ¿cómo estamos? ¿Has visto?
So I'm interested about the lamb that you have here, because this is the lamb that we have in the UK is twice the size.
Okay, this kind of lamb, it's really small because this lamb only eats the mother milk.
Milk, yeah,
Okay?
okay.
It's really young, it's 40 days.
Suckling lamb is a big thing in Madrid, and I'm looking forward to trying Jonathan's.
Is there anything else we need?
No, I don't think so. We have
No?
the rest of the things we have at home. Are we ready?
Yeah, I'm just going to pay.
Okay.
He's checking to see if I've got enough credit.
Let's run.
Exactly. It's good? It's good.
Vamos, Carlo. Carlo, vámonos.
Right,
Let's go.
let's go.
Jonathan's place is just around the corner. He's got an apartment with a kitchen on his balcony, which he uses to shoot his shows.
Now, can I just say before you start, you've got a kitchen like mine in your home. You've kindly let us into your home.
Yes.
This is your lovely outdoor kitchen.
Yes, this is my favorite place.
Now we're going to cook something. So
Let's cook
let's
something.
cook something.
Jonathan's cooking 2 lamb dishes. He's roasting a joint on one barbecue, and then he's putting skewers on the other, while I chop a salad.
My salad's done.
Yes,
So we've
it's done.
just got to wait for this. I've done my salad.
Hmm.
Yeah. Well, I think I've
Wow.
done my salad.
Okay, chef, let's see, please, the lamb, and maybe you can help me saying if it's ready. I smell it ready, but...
It looks really good, very good to me.
Yes?
Yeah, it's ready.
Okay,
There's
we
your
will put
platter.
it outside, and I can do it without looking.
Jonathan slow roasted his lamb for about an hour and a half.
Oh, let's see.
Oh, this is going to be
And
good.
this is with the salad, it's perfect.
There you go.
Wow.
Huh?
Maybe it's good cooking. Maybe. I'm not sure. But
Well,
what's your opinion?
I think it is. Okay, this is delicious, but I like to see what's in this barbecue, the small
Okay,
one.
let's see. Okay, how it's working.
Yeah.
Wait.
Oh, they look good.
Okay, I put out it.
I think it's good,
easy. Okay.
One on there.
You can come to my YouTube channel.
I tell you what. Do you know what? It's been an absolute pleasure today.
You are welcome, chef.
And the next time I come here, I'm going to appear here on the YouTube channel.
With mask or without mask?
Maybe without mask, because I'm trying to learn Spanish at the moment. That maybe pushes things too far.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
We will see.
What a guy, and a brilliant cook, and it's inspired me to make one of my favourite dishes in my villa kitchen. A cracking roast pork with lentils.
I mean, come on, look at this. It's an amazing bit of meat, this. This is a loin. But what I'm going to do is remove it from the bone. So I'll just show you how to remove it. First of all, follow the rib. So feel where the rib is. Take the knife in and always cut towards the bone. And then once you get to this stage, then there's a little, it's almost like a little U-bend as you go through. So you go in, and then it goes in on itself again, like that. You can see that. I've just gone in and around. So you're left with this part of the bone. This is very simple. You just cut it, and it comes off. And what you're doing is trimming that off. I think that deserves a 7 out of 10. I've left very little meat on there, to be honest with you. But what you are faced with this beautiful bit of pork. Now, what we need to do now is score this. Keep your hand away, put the knife in, nice pieces like that. You can just do it roughly. It just becomes easier once you carve it. Then, once you've got your lovely bit of pork like this, I don't know why I keep doing that, but anyway, look. And then a good sprinkling of salt. It's all you want with this. When you get pork this good quality, you don't need any oil, nothing else, just a touch of salt over the top. It's basically down to the quality of the pork. It's as simple as that. Now, I've got one in the oven. This has been in for a good 3 hours, something like that. Look at that. But then this is what we do with this pork. We then crank this up. 240, 250 degrees centigrade. And what you want to do with the pork is you want to shock it in the oven. Sit it in there. That sits in the oven for about half an hour. Turn the temperature down to 180 after half an hour, and then cook that. For a piece of pork like this, you're looking for about 2.5 hours. Just going to leave that to one side. Meanwhile, over here, I'm going to get on and do our lentils. We've got a selection of different veg over here, but this really is the key to lentils, I think, as well as what we're going to be using. This is chorizo, a little bit of black pudding, some lardo over here, and then this, well, it basically, in other terms, it's a pig foot. It's got an amazing flavour with this as well. So what we're going to do is we're going to incorporate all that with these little lentils.
First, I'm chopping the leeks, carrots and onions into large chunks.
Lardo can go in, chorizo can go in, black pudding and the pig foot. In we go with the garlic, in we go with the vegetables. Then what we do is get these beautiful caviar lentils, and all we want to do is just take a couple of handfuls of those and sprinkle them over the top. So I don't want to add too much because these are going to puff up in size as well. Now we're going to add a touch of red wine. And then I'm going to add some fresh chicken stock. By using a little bit of chicken stock, this is going to be perfect. Now, what we want to do is just gently simmer this for about 25 minutes, something like that, and the lentils will just start to puff up. So that just requires one more final bit. Plenty of chopped parsley. Just give that a quick mix together. Look at that, look at that. Just delicious. All these lovely veg and everything else. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to season it, because sherry vinegar and lentils, particularly with pork, is just delicious. That's it, it's finished. We can turn it off. But then, of course, this is the money shot. The beautiful pork over here. That noise, that lovely roast pork like that. And it's still warm. What you do need is a serrated knife for this. And slice it. Then you get some of this most amazing pork. And we can put that on the plate with the vegetables. Look at this. So you've got chunks of the chorizo, and then, of course, some of these amazing lentils to go with it. I'm chuffed to bits with that. Look, you take a chunk of pork like that. I mean, how stunning does that look? This is all you should hear.
My roast pork with caviar lentils and veg. Delicious.
What an amazing place Madrid is. If you get a chance, go visit. It doesn't disappoint. Still to come, we've got a recipe on the way from Chef Emily Scott and the genius barman, a good friend of mine on the show, Merlin Griffiths, will be here sharing more of his incredible cocktails, this time using herbs. But we'll see you back here in a couple of minutes when I'll be whipping up a dish of monkfish and cauliflower for comedian David Baddiel. I'll see you in a bit. Welcome back. Now, Chef Romy Gill will be showcasing her skills in the kitchen a little bit later, and First Dates barman Merlin Griffiths will be mixing up some more cracking cocktails very shortly. But first, I'm being joined in the house by a man who revolutionised stand-up comedy in the 1990s before writing one of the best-selling singles of all time and launching a career as a critically acclaimed author. It's the brilliant David Baddiel!
Thank you very much.
That's not a bad life, is it?
Well done, thank you. Well done, me.
It's
for having that life.
Not a bad life, is it?
And
really?
now you're cooking for me.
And now I'm cooking. Well, not the first time as well.
No, I think you cooked for me back in the day.
Back in the day on another
channel, whatever it was.
A long time ago.
Yeah, yeah.
But we're both still here. We're both still
Well,
working.
I think what stayed with me is just the taste.
Is that
So
what
I've
it
come
is?
back for that. Yeah.
You come back with the taste. So
I can't remember
thought
anything we talked about, but the taste was nice.
Well, I thought I'd do you a little dish of monkfish. So we're going to do monkfish with cauliflower two ways. We're going to do with it's actually a caramelised cauliflower with butter and some cauliflower puree, which I'll show you in a minute. Cauliflower couscous with a teriyaki sauce, and then the sauce is made out of coconut milk, some chicken stock, and then we use some lemongrass and some ginger with it as well. So the first thing we do is start cooking our monkfish, because this is our beautiful bit of monkfish. I'm going to cook
that is a nice-looking bit of monk.
I'm going to cook this as a nice big chunk like that. Salt and pepper over the top. Now, first of all, before we talk about anything, you're bang in the middle of something. This is epic. This is a 3-night gig. We now got the final night to go.
Yeah, yeah.
Why? And there's...
Let me explain. Right, so over the last 10 years or so, I did 3 tours of the UK and actually also of Australia and Canada with these shows that are sort of one-man storytelling shows. One of them is about fame, one of them is about my family, and one of them is about trolls and social media. And I am now recording them for television to go out later this year. But I have to do them, apparently, they tell me, over 3 nights at the Royal Court in London. That's what I'm doing now, presently, and I have to do a different show twice a night, every night. Now, I am older than I look, I'm going to say, and that is quite hard for a man who might think, what show am I doing tonight? Right. I might suddenly think, oh, I'm supposed to be talking about fame. No, I'm talking about trolls. But so far, it's been all right. I've managed to work out which show is which.
I often find the comedy, you know, recipes are structured, you know. I mean, I've done tours as well, and you have a structure in... like stuff. Comedy, I guess that is, but it isn't. You can never gauge it, can you?
Different comedians are different. Like, some people, it's every word is nailed down beforehand. Other people, it's all totally a roller coaster. Me, I'm somewhere in between, because basically I never say the same thing every night, but I know what I'm going to say. But it comes out differently every night. But
you mentioned the fact that you Canada and Australia and all kind of stuff. I presume their view of comedy is different to the British view of comedy. It's massively...
yeah, I mean, there's quite a lot of expats in those places, which is helpful for getting an audience. Yeah. But, yeah, I mean, I've done Just for Laughs Comedy Festival in Canada twice, and you're suddenly doing a huge audience there of Canadians, and, yeah, you don't know exactly what they're going to laugh at compared to what British people laugh at, but you've got to do it anyway. Yeah. I mean, I tried out... What I've been doing for a little while, actually, which is unusual. Normally I try out material. With these shows, I've been retrying it, if you see what I mean. I've been trying to get it back in my head, and some of this material I haven't done for 10 years, so it's gone. So I have to re-get it back into my head. But that's what you normally do, is you go and try out stuff in little venues, you know, wherever it is. I did in Canada, I remember I went to a little bar in Toronto and did 3 nights there before I did the big venues in Montreal. So you can get some idea of what you're doing, you know. So that what you're talking about, which is like, how do you get the structure? Yeah. You do it. That's how you get the structure.
But I mean, going back into terms of your career, I mean, you did the comedy circuit. You did that for 5 years. That in London, it's notoriously tough. Must have been tough in the, you know, what was that?
Well, let me tell you something.
Early 90s?
So it was the mid-80s when I started. Right. Again, older than I look. And I came out of Cambridge University, and I thought... Right, I'd gone to Cambridge University, I'd gone to do the Footlights, which is where Monty Python and all those people came from, and Fry and Laurie, and I thought, I'll come out of there and I'll just get a show on TV. No. It didn't work like that by the mid-80s. I literally phoning up the Comedy Store and saying to them quite proudly, because they said, have you ever done any comedy? I said, oh, yes, I was vice president of the Cambridge Footlights. They'd put the phone down, right? So I just started again and did what were called open spots. But in those days, an open spot was after midnight, and often you were the fourth or fifth act on, and the audience were either trying to kill you or dead already. There's like complete. And the first time I went on, there'd been a fight just before I went on, and then when I went on, it was like performing to zombies, essentially. And yet, and this is something I don't understand about myself, I came back and did it again and got better, and eventually was comparing the Comedy Store. Now, if you ask me to go back and do that now, I would say, please, no. But when I was young, I had a kind of drive to do it that meant that I just kept going until it worked, which it did.
But comedy goes through eras and genres. You became like a rock and roll era.
Yeah.
Right? You know, the Lee Evans and all that. They're big, you know.
Well, we were the first, me and Rob Newman. I was in a... So I was doing my own stand-up, and then I also started working with a guy called Rob Newman, and then we were on a show called The Mary Whitehouse Experience.
Just that little show that was quite popular.
Yeah, and it was popular enough for me and Rob Newman to end up being the first comedians to play Wembley Arena. And that actually started, I guess, arena comedy in Britain, and now it happens all the time.
But how do you equate the comedy circuit, the comedy club, for instance? You know, you've got that small gathering, they're all around you, you can see the whites of their eyes, to doing something like that where it's just vast.
Yeah. How do I equate it?
How does it...
I mean, I did Edinburgh Festival recently, and that was all small venues, and it was actually really brilliant to go back and do small venues, because at some level, that is comedy, right? Comedy should be done in an intimate space with people who feel you're talking directly to them. But if you can make it work in a big space, if you can create the illusion that you are still talking individually to each member of the audience, then it's a great thing, you know? It's a great thing. So I think comedy can work differently in different rooms.
Exactly. Look, I'm just going to recap what we've got. We could talk for hours on this. We're going to get talking about the book as well and everything else. But basically, we've got a sauce we're reducing down. This is some chicken stock that's gone in here. We've got some lemongrass, some ginger, fresh lemongrass, fresh ginger, coconut milk. Reduce that down. I'm going to whiz it all up with one of these little stick blenders. Over here, I've got a teriyaki sauce, which is basically soy, a little bit of mirin, some sugar. And then you add... This is a touch of cauliflower, and you just... mix that together, and this is going to sit as a base with our little bit of monkfish. The cauliflower's over here, which has just been cooked with some nut brown butter, salt and pepper, and it goes this sort of light brown colour, but this produces this amazing cauliflower puree, which is ace. So that's going to mix into there as well. Meanwhile, I've got my nice little bit of roasted monkfish over here, which I'll just take a little bit of butter, because this wants another minute. So while we're talking about this, now while I've got the fish going, we've got to mention the books as well, because... And I mean, writing-wise...
I write a lot.
You write a lot.
Yeah, that is basically my day, is I go to an office and I write. And sometimes I think, what a brilliant job, and sometimes I think, this is hard work.
Where does the love of children's books come from? Where did that originate from?
Well, that was to do with having children, actually. A few people have been talking to me about writing children's books, but I wasn't interested in doing it just because it seemed like a good career move. I thought, no, I'm not doing that unless I have a good idea. Right? And then one day my son, who at the time was 8, he's now 19, but, you know, time passes, but he was 8, and he said to me, Dad, we were talking about Harry Potter. He said, wasn't Harry Potter run away from the Dursleys, which, you know, the horrible muggle family he has to live in when he's not at Hogwarts, and try and find some better parents? And I thought, that's an interesting idea, a world in which children can choose their own parents, right? Yeah. And so I thought, that's a good idea, I'll write that. And I wrote this book called The Parent Agency, which sold a lot and is going to be a musical next year.
Well, I'm going to talk about that later on as well, because you love music, we both love that, so we'll talk about that a little bit later.
And so that became... I decided to start writing children's books. I was always slightly bothered about the fact that that idea came from my son. The idea of swapping parents came from my son. But I'll tell you something. I sometimes go and read to children, like in schools, and they love that idea. Yeah. Because what I say to them is, I read a bit, and then I say, actually, if you could have celebrity parents just for one day, I know you love your parents, but just for one day, who would you like to have? And I ask them, and there's a lot of footballers. No one's mentioned you so far, but I'm sure it's in there.
Fine.
Yeah. I tell you what they're very interested in, children, money. Right? So quite a lot of them say, I'd like Elon Musk to be my dad.
Really? That's funny, that, isn't it?
Yeah, because they're very keen on... But what happens is, if a kid says, oh, I'd like Ronaldo and Beyonce to be my mum and dad, the other kids react like, that's happened. Wow, how exciting. Yeah. And it taught me something about kids, which is their imaginations are very live. Yeah. Right? When you write for kids... they really think what you're writing about is happening in a very real way, and it's very beautiful, actually. And so I got really into it, you know, the kids seem to really like the books. I was really interested in writing funny books for kids because sometimes people are worried, think like, oh, we can't be too funny with kids. But I thought, no, of course you can. Kids are hilarious, especially now that they've grown up watching, you know, The Simpsons.
Yeah.
And not
well, the
watching...
rumour is you're writing a book about a young chef, is that right?
So basically I should be paying my son royalties because this was his idea. It was his idea.
Another one?
Yeah, another one of his ideas. He was talking about, I probably shouldn't mention their name, but a particular very well-known fast food place. And he said, what if the person cooking the burgers in this place, like what if one day a young person cooking the burgers, it was like a brilliant chef? And people from all over decided to come to this fast food place for the beauty of the burgers. And I thought, that's not a bad idea. So I've now written a book called, it's not out yet, but it will be out, called Small Fry, about a boy who works for his dad's burger van outside a football ground. And he's, originally, I don't know if you've ever had a burger at a football match, but they're not fabulous.
Not the greatest thing
I mean,
in the world.
part of what's good about them is they're not fabulous. But let's imagine this is an instinctively brilliant kid who can cook burgers brilliantly.
Yeah.
Suddenly there's huge queues outside the burger van. And then what happens is that the local fast food place tries to close them down. And it becomes a huge, you know, David versus Goliath story. And I've written that, and that comes out next at the end of this year. But I tell you what was quite difficult, I know you obviously do it, was writing about food, because I've never really done that before. So when I tried to describe the burger, I thought I have to make this sound like the best burger ever, and that's harder than I thought.
Well, I've done 30-odd books, and I still find it as hard as the first one, that's the thing. But there you have it. I find cooking a lot easier. So there we have it, a nice little bit of monkfish.
Lovely.
So with a touch of cauliflower puree, we've got a nice little bit of herb oil to give it a nice little colour. It goes on here, a little bit of that. Touch of that with it as well. And then just to finish off, to carry on that sort of Asian sort of theme, we've got a little bit of coriander over the top. And there we have it.
What I want this to be like, this is what I always think about food, is, have you seen Ratatouille, the film?
Yeah.
OK, so in Ratatouille, Antoine Ego, the critic, who is very snooty about food, comes into the restaurant where a rat has cooked his food and has some ratatouille, and there's an incredibly beautiful moment where he puts the first bit in his mouth and it returns him to childhood. And that's what I want to happen.
Well, if it was mine, it'd be Angel Delight, and it'd be a lot easier than that. But anyway, there we have it. Roasted monkfish with cauliflower. Done. This is yours.
That looks fantastic.
Bon
Thank
appetit.
you.
Dive into that.
Wow.
Dive into that one.
That looks marvellous.
Monkfish simply cooked.
And also, monkfish is one of my favourite fishes. Fishes. Right.
It's beautiful. Simply cooked, it's lovely.
Yeah, it's partly because I think, I thought of fish as a bit of a grown-up thing.
Yeah.
Right, and I'm not very grown-up, even though I'm old. And monkfish is a meaty one, so I quite like that.
It's nice.
Oh, God, that's delicious.
It's nice, isn't it?
It's really, that's nice.
Yeah.
I mean, what would I have said if I said it was awful? Yeah. Horrible. Does that ever happen?
No, we'd have just pressed the button, you'd have risen up and gone down. There you go.
No, it's really nice. And you know what? I'm being returned to childhood, even though my mum never cooked anything like this.
Exactly, mine neither. But anyway, right, we're making lamb masala for David at the end of the show. We're giving you a masterclass in hot cross buns a little bit later on as well. But join us again after the break when we got the brilliant Cornish chef for the first time in the house. Emily Scott will be here. She'll be at the hubs, and I'll see you after the break. Welcome back. Now, coming up, I'll be giving you a step-by-step guide to making hot cross buns in this week's Little Masterclass, perfect in time for Easter. And I'll be treating my guest, David Baddiel, to a lamb masala a little bit later. But first, I'm joined by Romy Gill and Merlin Griffiths. We're about to enjoy a masterclass of our very own from one of the most influential women in hospitality, whose recipes always celebrate the incredible seafood of the Southwest. That's not a bad opening for your first time on the show, is it?
Thank you.
It's Emily Scott. Wonderful to have you on the show.
Thanks
I've been
so
a fan of your food as well, and people have been talking about it for years. So, what are you going to be cooking
years?
for us? Well, yeah, they have. Because what are you going to be cook for us?
I am going to do a en papillote trout dish today. So I'm quite well known for kind of fish cookery. So I'm going to cook you some trout, but kind of en papillote, which is a really simple way of cooking fish, and I'm going to inspire everybody to cook more fish
So
at home.
the first bit, we've got the trout over here. You're going to make a little dressing out of these ones, are you,
So
really?
butter beans. So you could use potatoes if you wanted to, but I'm going to go butter beans, and we've got some samphire, which is really lovely. Just together, lemon zest, lemon juice, some olive oil, some white wine. So you pour yourself a glass, and then you pour a little bit on the trout.
Sounds good to me.
And then you've got the herbs as well.
This is no relation to this. I'm going to leave you to get started because
Okay,
you want the ball there for your bits and pieces. But I'm then going to make going to start the process of making a little bit of fudge. We're going to melt that in.
So this is a cheats recipe, and a really lovely one if you want to make or make a gift, a food gift for someone you love, whether it's Christmas or a birthday or just because.
Right. So I'm going to make one over here as well. So we're going to make basically 3 of these.
So we're going to make 3 of them, and it's really simple. I've gone for the ready-made rounds of parchment, but you can, you can circle them out and cut them, but it helps my OCD. So we're going to go straight. To get straight, you could do this in a bowl, but we're going to do it into the paper. So
now, your training was quite fascinating in France, really.
It was in France. I left school, didn't know what I was doing. So I went to France to learn to cook, basically.
Yeah.
So on the stove, and I realised I'd found something that I really loved to do, and that was to bring people around the table and realise that I made people happy through food, that's what it's all about for me. Nothing else makes me happier than that. Right, butter beans, samphire. You get a little microplane.
A little microplane on each of them?
On each of them. We're going to put some sea salt. Course.
And you mentioned the simplicity. I mean, no better place than Cornwall, really. How did you end up back there? Because you're from Sussex, are you?
Yeah, so I'm originally kind of from Sussex, but I married a fisherman from Cornwall. So I had a restaurant in Port Isaac, and my whole career has been based around Cornwall. So pretty cool.
So your restaurant in Port Isaac, well, you've recently had a restaurant as well, and that's now got converted into rooms. This is kind of the first one you've not really had a restaurant. I take it you're looking for a site, then, are you?
I would love to find another restaurant in Cornwall, but in the meantime, I took on a job, a consultant chef job in the Caribbean.
Oh, stuff! Tell me, that's a tough job. That phone call, was it?
It was really tough, but it did take me a while to decide whether I was going to do it. So I'm just going to put a little bit of olive oil on the fish. So we're just going to season the trout a little bit. Yeah. So pepper, some salt. So, yes, I've got this amazing restaurant that I look after called Calypso Grill on the Cayman Islands. And I think you should say yes to every opportunity, because honestly, it's just been the most wonderful thing I've ever done.
Are you sure, barman?
Well...
that's coming next, you see.
OK, so we're just going to pop the fish skin on top, OK?
Yeah, clean down your...
Yeah, clean down my section. Sorry, James.
I'll do that. It's fine. It's fine. It's absolutely fine. So that's that one. So now the bit is... Do you put a little bit of wine in now, or do you seal a little bit first?
So we're going to... Did you lemon juice them?
Lemon juice them all, yes.
Yeah. So we're going to start with sealing them. So basically, pretend we're going to be making kind of a pasty now. So we're going to literally just fold the edges around and just very carefully crimp your way round. And I like doing it this way because we can serve the parcel on the plate in the paper, so really rustic.
Well, I remember one of the first dishes I learnt in France was hake with beurre blanc, and they used to do this with steamed potatoes.
Lovely.
And they used to put the hake in it, steam it in the bag, serve it, and that used to be just with the beurre blanc sauce on the side of it, really.
So good.
I think you just answered my thought as well, because I was wondering what's the benefit to cooking it in the paper?
So all the flavours are kind of captured within the paper. You could use... I do cook monkfish in fig leaves. That's quite a lovely way of cooking fish. Anything where you encase it...
Banana leaf in the Caribbean, I suppose.
Yeah. Haven't done that yet, though. But lots of interesting fish in the Caribbean. I've never cooked with grouper, mahi-mahi, wahoo. I mean, it's what's nice as a chef, I'm learning all the time, and that's really, really interesting.
Wow, he's amazing on the barbecue, by the way.
It's like white tuna. It's just delicious. Right.
Right, so hot oven.
Hot oven.
Straight in. And you do nothing else with it, really. And that's the great thing. If you had a dinner party, you could do that and put them in the fridge.
Perfect.
Can we do scallops like that as well?
Absolutely.
I think anything really goes if you give it a try with fish. I mean, fish is super simple to cook and it's quick. So I think if I can kind of get people excited about cooking fish in different ways...
Well, you managed to do that as well, because this was your first book. This one.
Yep, this is Sea and Shore.
So this was all about your seafood, your love of seafood and everything else, but the love of the area and...
And why Cornwall, basically. So that kind of sets the scene.
And then this one was last year.
And Time and Tide came out last July.
Right.
And that's all about time. It's about
Beautiful
more
photographs.
about my life at home.
And the key to it, don't put all your ideas in one book. You just spread them out.
Spread them out, okay,
that's the
I'll
thing.
remember that.
That's the thing, yeah.
Right.
So what have you just put in there then? That was
So we've
milk
got-
chocolate in there that I put in,
So
was
it's
it?
dark chocolate, so
Dark chocolate.
70%, but if you prefer something slightly less dark, 54% chocolate's good. Then we've got some chocolate and hazelnut spread.
This is not with the trout, my director says. This is something that he might eat it with the trout if you
Yeah, we're now making
if you
the
knew Will,
fudge.
but so this is like a simple version of a fudge, but
Yeah, so there's-
fudge you've usually got loads of sugar and you've got to whisk
Yeah.
it for ages.
So there's no thermometer. This is a super cheats fudge, and I've made it a lot.
Did you add condensed milk or
condensed milk, dark chocolate, and hazelnut spread.
Nice.
So if you can just hit the nuts, that would be great.
Crush these up
Crush
as well.
them up.
There you go. That's that one as well.
Yeah.
So really, really easy.
Love this. It's just this. Yeah, and you've got this while you're waiting for the trout as well, haven't you? Really, this is. So you need to save a little bit back for the top.
Yeah, and I'm going to add some sea salt to the top as well, because I just really like chocolate and sea salt. It's really good. But you could put pistachio nuts. You could make it your own.
So you were talking about fish. Why do you think we don't eat so much fish in this country? I think we should eat a lot more. And it just, you look at all the amazing produce that we've got from not just from Cornwall, Scotland. You look at Wales. You look at all the crab from Norfolk. I mean, there's so much, but we just end up exporting a lot of it. We just think it's why?
I think people are quite scared of cooking fish. I think we need to demystify it. I think fish can be quite scary. I think if you think of, if you're eating a piece of meat, you don't get the whole cow or the whole sheep, obviously.
Yeah.
But with the fish, you get a whole fish. You get the eyes. You get everything. And then if you look at most recipes, you need to be able to know how to gut or fillet a fish. So I'm kind of looking at it from the angle of let's skip that part. Let's buy the fish already processed and ready to go.
Yeah.
And what I want to do is try and get people kind of just changing their mindset slightly. So, on a weekday, and everyone's busy, everyone's quite stressed, but let's cook more fish.
Well, you managed to do it, and you managed to run restaurants with kids as well. I mean,
Yeah, I did manage to run them. I don't know how I managed to do that.
So anyway, there's the, and you want to finish that with a little bit of salt. So
Yeah, we can.
Would this be Cornish sea salt? or would this be-
It is Cornish sea salt.
That's funny, that, isn't it? Really?
So a few more nuts,
Yeah.
and then we just pop it in the fridge, and then I can just cut some up and we can try some.
And while we're waiting for our trout, I'll let you to chop this one up as
Yeah,
well. So you just
lovely.
set it in the fridge.
Yeah, that just needs
Let
to
you
go in the
sprinkle it
fridge.
with a little bit of salt
Yeah.
over the top.
And so after it's set in the fridge, it'll happily sit at room temperature.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There we go.
Lovely.
So
And
here's
it's
a bit of
staying
fudge.
in here, Merlin. Not back to your house. It's staying here.
Sure about that?
There you go.
So
And you've got some as a little package.
yeah,
Look at
so
that.
you could wrap it up and tie it up with string. That's quite nice. It's quite a nice one to do with kids. This actually get them cooking. So I mean, I don't know what kind of square kind of man, or do you want a rectangle? But I quite like just not being too specific and just
Well, Trust me, when you come in again, you realise that that's a portion.
So I'm gonna make them all slightly different.
Yeah.
I mean, also, this is going to be so rich as well. You don't really need too much.
You don't need
I like
too
the
much.
fact that, usually when you're making fudge, you've got to stand there for
Yeah.
about 15, 20 minutes. You mix and mix and mix carefully, it doesn't burn. This is so much quicker.
Yeah, no, it's a really nice recipe, and it still gives you that kind of that nostalgic nod to standing in the fudge shop, when they weighed the fudge out. I'm going to give you that to try.
There you go. That's what you get to a little bit of try. And while we're trying that, we'll just wait on our little bit of trout.
So super simple.
Not bad, that, is it?
Good.
Great fun.
And then we've got, let you grab the plates, but this is, the key to this is simplicity. Look at that.
So simple. And I think they look lovely wrapped up in their little parcels.
There you
Okay,
go.
perfect.
I'll let you do the honours of one of them.
Thank you.
So you just...
Well, you can snip them, or because you've done a little round, you can literally take the top off, and then you just get the most beautiful piece of fish.
People are going to love doing these, look.
So there we go. So gorgeous.
So give us the name of this.
So So this is basically parchment trout with white beans, samphire, and herbs. Simple.
Emily, everybody, how good is that? Well, bon appetit.
Thank you.
How good is that? It's not bad eating Merlin, is it, really?
Looks amazing.
We expect drinks in a minute. That's what we expect.
We'll get them.
So I'll let you look at that. I mean, that's the sort of simplicity. Sauce-wise, if you want to do something with it?
Yeah, I would probably put citrus mayo with it if I wanted to eat you know, new potatoes, green salad, a bit of mayo with everything. But what I love about this is it's all about the fish, it's all about the trout, and it's just really, really lovely. And you can go to your market, your fishmonger, supermarket do have good, quite good fish counters now.
Yeah. I can see my 10-year-old daughter making this as well. It's like art and crafts.
It's
Pretty simple, isn't it, really? There you go. Emily Scott, everybody. Brilliant. Coming back again?
If you'll have me.
Oh, of course you can. Yeah, absolutely. Right, still to come, we've got a masterclass in hot cross buns. The reason why, you use less washing up than most of the chefs. You can that. And we've got David Baddiel. We'll be enjoying a well-deserved lamb masala a little bit later, but join us again after the break, when this chap over here, Merlin Griffiths, will be giving us a crash course in herb cocktail making. I'm looking forward to that one. That is delicious. Welcome back. Now, I'll be chatting some more to the brilliant David Baddiel later on this morning, and we've got a masterclass in hot cross buns coming your way. That's coming up next. But first, it's an honour to be joined in the house once again by one of the most knowledgeable bartenders in the business. It's the brilliant Merlin Griffiths.
It's lovely to be back.
Funny enough, we just happen to have two ladies that have just suddenly sat there waiting for something to drink. Emily and Robbie here. So what are you going to be doing for us as well?
Right, I want to celebrate herbs. We're coming into spring, and these are the first things I find that start growing outside, and the easiest things to be able to just go out and grab when you need them.
Because people just think mint in cocktails, don't they, really?
You do, and actually, well said, you see, people forget mint is a herb, and we'll do a nice minted cocktail to finish. Yeah. But I want to start with what we call the king of herbs. Basil. I don't think it personally is. I'm going to have to open this up now, being as I'm with a bunch of chefs.
Coriander.
What is the king of herbs?
Well, coriander's the most popular herb in
Coriander
the UK,
and curry leaves, I think.
Curry leaf, of course.
Tarragon is an underrated herb, in my view, and needs to be celebrated. Oh, look.
I agree with you, the French style, I agree with that. Lemon verbena is my favourite.
Lemon verbena for you?
Yeah, lemon
nice.
verbena. Probably my favourite herb is chervil, but it's a nightmare to grow. If you can get it, it's brilliant. So, but basil is just... I like basil in desserts.
Yes, it's beautiful. Amazing. With strawberries as well, with watermelon. It goes wonderfully well with watermelon.
Like pistachio nuts, really, as well.
You find, yeah. Well, I mean, these are the sort of elements I want to get out of this one, because, as you can see, I'm really mashing up the basil. You've got to be quite violent with, whereas mint, you want to be very, very sensitive with, as you'll see later. Otherwise, it goes sort of slightly bitter, whereas basil, to get all that flavour out, I really want to be grinding it up. So I've got 2 good handfuls of basil in here. I'm making 2 drinks, a gin and basil smash.
Smells amazing.
From a lovely bartender called Jörg Meyer. And he riffed this off the whiskey smash, which is an older cocktail. So gin, basil, lemon, sugar. Really super easy. You only need the one spirit. Okay. Could you do me a favour, by the way? Could you squeeze me 2 lemons?
So you want me to squeeze the lemon?
Yeah, squeeze some lemon juice in there. I've got our basil and a couple of large measures of gin.
Right. So where is this basis from? Where does this come from, and how old is it? Has it been around for years?
Smashes, yeah. Smashes date back to 19th century. You're looking really, I think, on smashes. The whiskey smash. Again, they're sort of a mash-up between, say, a mint julep, using your bourbon and mint and sugar on its own, a bit like an old-fashioned, but then it meets the whiskey sour, where you've got your lemon juice introduced, and you sort of bring the 2 together, you end up with a smash. Right, and we're going to... I see, look, you've got some fancy ice on.
Look at this now.
These are the things I find in your kitchen, James. This is amazing.
they're not in my kitchen. You buy... What?
Ice spheres. They're wonderful things. You can get moulds for them. You can actually buy them ready frozen like that in spheres as well. The idea is a big lump of ice keeps your drink colder for longer. They actually don't melt as quickly as ice cubes, you find, which is nice. So all that idea of, I don't want ice watering down my drink too much, I've always said more ice is better, always in that scenario. big lumps.
So a lot of
stuff.
time you have whiskey in this, don't you?
You do, yeah, that's right. It's a lovely, it's a traditional whiskey syrup, that's right.
And then something, what are the press that you've, is it copper that you put an ice cube on and it goes down after about 20 minutes and produces that?
It is. Spun aluminium, in fact, they use to make it. Yeah, it's called the Isomoruro, originally out of Japan. I have an original Japanese Isomoruro at home.
But it's just the weight of itself presses onto the ice and melts it, doesn't it? And then
it does, yeah. It's heat transfer. So it's the aluminium happy to give up its heat from room temperature and take away the cold, and it melts it very quickly. So you just freeze yourself.
Next time he's on, he's going to bring that with him.
I will. I'll bring the Isomoruro.
Right. That's pretty good. You want that then? I take it to you as well.
I will strain it to that. Yep. So this is what we call a double strain. So normally you use single strain drinks. But just in this case of Hawthorn, I'm going to double strain it because I don't want those pieces of basil coming out in drinks. Look at
the colour you get from just that basil. That's just from crushing it just in the bottom.
Yeah. You see, now, if you're not a fan of the colour, you can keep the drink sort of lemon juice coloured if you prefer, just by shaking with the basil. You'll get a lot of flavour into there, but you won't get this vibrant green, which is ultimately what we're after here for a gin and basil smash. And there you
gin
go.
and basil smash. Ladies?
Yes, please.
Oh, you'll dice it in there. Garnish with a little piece of basil if you like.
You want some basil in there as well?
Yeah, give it a nice... Yeah. There we go. Celebrate the greenery. See, but you should get a real herbal pop.
Man, that is dangerous, isn't it?
Whoa.
Yeah.
That is so good.
Like
that is... How good is that?
That basil is fab.
So we've made that one, which is called a
gin and basil smash.
Smash. And where are we going next then? What's this one?
Right, so Caribbean via way of San Francisco, and with a little nod to Victorians as well for the way it's made. We're going to do a swizzle, which is a traditional Caribbean drink. Swizzles are made with...
You could be making this up. I've got no idea.
Do you know what those swizzles? Right, OK, so swizzles are made using a swizzle stick. This is where you get the original swizzle stick. They're not those silly bits of plastic that you used to flap around in your drink. Right. Originally, it's an actual piece of a tree from a tree called the swizzle tree. But where's the herbs coming from in this? Right, chartreuse. I'm using chartreuse, which is...
Do you know what chartreuse? I haven't used it. I used to use it in desserts when I was a kid.
Amazing.
Not when I was a kid. When I was training as a young chef. But you got the green chartreuse, didn't you?
Yeah, that's right, yes.
Particularly good with banana. Coffee.
Yeah.
Coffee,
definitely.
sort of
Chocolate
flavour.
goes beautifully with it. I used to have it with hot chocolate. Chartreuse and hot chocolate. And we're putting that with falernum, a traditional Caribbean sweetener. So it's a slightly alcoholic sugar syrup flavoured with cloves and lime in there as well. So that'll go alongside.
Can I have a little taste of that one then? So
yeah,
that's like a sugar syrup, like a spice sugar syrup.
Yeah, exactly. Traditional sweetener for tiki cocktails and rum cocktails.
This
it's got a small amount of alcohol in it.
That's actually just gone through me. It's really good. Oh, yeah.
Again, being tropical, we've got pineapple juice going into this as well.
That's amazing, isn't it?
That's so good.
Yeah. OK, right, crushed ice in this. Here we go, we've got our crushed ice.
I just want to watch him and just because I think it's just brilliant.
Scoop. Where's my scoop gone?
Will you scoop?
I have to scoop. Oh, there it is. Being blind. Right, crushed ice.
Yeah.
Here
now,
we go.
you kindly, about a couple of times ago, you were on and you did this amazing cocktail. I remember having it, and you made it for me. And I went to the bar the other day and forgot the name of it. What was it?
Oh, right, that was your Cosmonaut. That's your drink.
Cosmonaut, that was it.
Cosmonaut is your drink.
The best
all day long.
cocktail ever.
So what's in that?
It's a gin, raspberry and lemon, but use raspberry jam.
Raspberry jam.
That was it, raspberry jam.
Right, here we go. So you swizzle like so. You see that? And the idea is it gets it very, very, very cold. If you swizzle long enough, right, although I'm aware I've got some thirsty people.
You'll end up with like a slush puppy.
Yeah, well, yes, and it ices up on the outside of the glass. Middle of summer, you'll see. You get a big, thick layer of ice on the end. But there we go. For expediency, I'm going to give these...
It's not a bad first time on the show, is it, really?
Yeah, I'll be back. This is amazing.
These are always the best tasting,
what is this one called? What is this one called again?
So this is our chartreuse swizzle.
So always lots of ice, that's key.
Always lots of ice. Lots of ice is absolutely key. Here you go. I've got a couple of...
Where's my umbrella?
Reasonable straws. You can garnish with a mint tip. Is always traditional on these if you like. And as I say, lime wedge, or you can use pineapple and a cherry if you prefer. Up to you, but the main thing is getting the drink itself.
We'll share here.
Check this swizzle. So you'll see this one should be... It'll have elements of dryness and bitterness because we've got gentian in there in the chartreuse in this version as well. But also, it should have...
It's so good. The bitter is so nice. You added that bitter in that. That was so good.
There we go. And these are big, complex flavours, you see, and that's what we're sort of after here.
What's that thing? That
gentian, probably, you're getting round the back.
Yeah. Is that the...
But there's also possibly a little bit of that. That's got sort of pea shoots and flavours of it, and in here you've got good flavour. Geranium, rosemary.
It's geranium. It's rose.
That's it.
It's really floral.
Yeah.
Wow.
We'll go into the Chartreuse as well.
Whoa.
Right, so getting ready for summer, though. Now we're sort of heading into spring, thinking forward. But I still want to use the mint because it's a great green herb. Good chance to practice our mojito skills as well, I think. Yeah. So we're going to do a mojito, but with a little twist, a Nordic mojito. So I've got our mint in there. You might have noticed, unlike the basil, I'm not going to spend ages mashing this around.
So what's the difference between this? What's a Nordic one and a normal one?
Right, so your regular mojitos, obviously, white rum. OK?
Yeah.
Lime and mint and sugar and a little splash of soda.
Yeah.
I'm adding in a touch of aquavit. Are you familiar with aquavit?
No.
Aha. This is a Norwegian. It's either Norwegian or Swedish. Scandinavian hooch, basically. Aquavit.
Scandinavian hooch. Now, if there's going to be something, seriously dangerous, it's got to be Scandinavian hooch.
Absolutely. I mean, traditionally drunk with a little smorgas on the side, I would say. And your Scandinavian friends, they drink it neat straight from the freezer. Schnapps, as they call it. It's like a little aperitif or sometimes a digestive as well. Okay. I'm going to use it in the mojito. It adds flavours, so the key flavour here is caraway behind it. So they use this one, Ligny, is a raw potato spirit. It's aged in sherry butts and flavoured with caraway. They actually age it in barrels on a ship.
Well, it says that. It says this is true. It says here. It said it sailed to the other side of the world and back again. That's right. For more than 200 years, they've been doing it.
Yeah.
So they put it on a boat,
cross the equator, and bring it back, and that's just the right amount of time to age it.
Why would you put it in a shed? But anyway, it's great.
I don't know. I suppose it's I suppose they're claiming you're getting an expression of terroir. I would imagine the casks do something with that wonderful sea air while it's travelling around.
So it's still white rum.
Still white rum, though.
Just that.
But I'm cutting it in half with our aquavit.
Right.
OK. So there we go. So we got our rum, our aquavit, all our bits in there, and same. Likewise, like the swizzle. Thank you. Little splash of soda. You notice I'm putting all this in before the ice. All right, because we just want to...
Then is that full-fat soda? You do slim... What, always full-fat?
Soda is just soda. There's no sugar in soda.
Well,
it's carbonated water.
Fine.
There should be no... A diet soda? I don't know. I would never have come across
I saw that the other day.
Did you? A diet soda?
I actually picked it up and I thought it was tonic, and it wasn't.
Ah.
Anyway, there you go.
Well, and actually, do you know what? Tonic works also very nicely, or ginger ale works very nicely in a mojito as well, if you want to give it an interesting little twist. Right, so meantime, there we go. We're there, and now you just need to churn them up. OK, so where the basil, it was lots of muddling. Here, we're just... There we go. You just give it a nice churn. Get that mint flavour through, get the lime flavours through.
So give us the name of this dish, then.
Right.
This one?
I have a Nordic mojito.
Nordic mojito. Do you want to take this raw again?
So see what you think? Your traditional mojito flavours, all brought together with a little lick of caraway. It just brightens it up again. Works for you?
That is off the chart.
Oh, you like it? Good. As I say, this one's a polarised. This is very good. It's going to be Marmite.
I prefer that than mojito.
That's kind of almost warming. It's delicious. It's
it just rounds everything off, doesn't it, really?
Oh, it is. Lifts it out, yeah.
Very smooth.
And makes what is normally quite a plain drink, although very tasty, more interesting.
I think that is all using herbs as well. So just to recap over here, this one is called a
gin and basil smash. And here we've got, look, the ice is forming on the outside now. Look at that. Perfect.
Yeah.
Our Chartreuse swizzle and our Nordic mojito.
Genius.
This bloke is an absolute legend. Merlin Griffiths, everybody.
Thank you, James.
Brilliant. Happy with that, ladies?
Yeah, my favourite is that one.
Yeah, go easy, because you've got to cook next. There we go. Still to kill. Romy's cooking, so take that offer. And I'll be serving up a lamb masala for my guest, David Baddiel. But after the break, I'll be back in the kitchen for an unmissable masterclass in hot cross buns, just in time for Easter. I'll see you in a bit. They'll be great dipped in a bit of that. Welcome back. Now, Chef Romy Gill will be working on magic in the kitchen. That's coming up next. And I'll be chatting some more to my guest, David Baddiel, at the end of the show. But first, it's time for this week's masterclass. And with this week, Easter's fast approaching, I thought I'd give you the step-by-step guide to making the perfect hot cross bun. For you at home, but also Sam upstairs. That's Sam upstairs. Autocue. So what we're going to do is make hot cross buns, and you basically break this down into stages. The first bit is the dough itself. So we use strong bread flour. I've got some milk. I've got a little bit of mixed spice over here. I've got some sugar. touch of yeast. You can use dried yeast or fresh yeast. It's entirely up to you. And then some butter. So what we do then is, first of all, I get in the habit of putting the liquid in first rather than the flour in. Otherwise, it sticks to the bottom. So then we add our flour, like that. Pop that in. We can add our mixed spice. That can go in. Our sugar. So this is what we call an enriched yeast dough. So if you think of a bread dough being flour and water and yeast, enriched yeast dough is butter, sugar, and instead of water, we add milk. And then that goes in. Same thing like a donut dough, really. That goes in, and then our yeast. Now, it's up to you. You can dissolve this yeast in a little bit of milk, first of all, or you can just pop it in straight like this. It's entirely up to you. It's just the speed that the yeast reacts. This is going to take a little bit longer if you do it this way. And you pop the machine on low like this. I like to use a dough hook for this one. And we just mix that gently. Now, while that's happening, we've got this mixture over here. Now, this mixture is a mixture of sort of sultanas, raisins, mixed peel. It's entirely up to you. You can put chocolate chip in there as well if you wanted. You can use half and half. It's up to you. But I've got a combination of 3 different types, sultanas, raisins, and some mixed peel in there. Now, while that's going, we'll then think about getting our crosses on the top of our dough as well for this one. And I've got this combination of flour and water, so I can then mix this all together, and that gives our cross for our dough. So you concentrate on this for a second and bring this together a dough. Now, it's important that you don't add these yet. We're just going to bring this together as a dough like that. So with this, so often when people are making bread doughs and things like this, they make the dough too dry. And that's because you stick to a standard recipe and flour changes. The raw ingredient can change massively. The different types of flour you use, the brands, the year, the seasons, it can change hugely in terms of how much water content is added to this, or how much, in this case, milk. So although you take a standard recipe, just keep your eye on it, really, and just feel it like that. It wants to be slightly tacky, the dough. It doesn't want to be dry, otherwise it ends up being dry once it's cooked. So once you get to that stage, you can see you've got this nice mixture over here. In we go with our dried fruit, mixed peel, and then just bring this together just lightly. This is why we add it now, otherwise everything's just going to be crushed. And then what I would do now is just take this off and leave this to prove. And you want to cover this over. Now, there's 2 ways to leave this to prove. One of which is what we call retard the dough, which is slowly prove it. And the way you slowly prove that is cover it over. You can put it in a glass bowl if you want. Cover it over and put it in the fridge. And put that in the fridge overnight. It'll last 24 hours in the fridge. That's slowly proving it. The other one, you can leave it out somewhere warm, like in your house, airing cupboard like that, covered over, and it'll prove in about an hour and a half. Retarding it, I always think, is the nicest way because it just creates a nice little taste at the end of it. So just cover it over. This one has been in the fridge overnight, retarding like that. It still rises, but it rises a lot slower, like that. So I've just left this out of the fridge a little bit just to come up to room temperature, and then we can then concentrate and break this down into hot cross buns. And for that, you want to take this mixture like that, and then just cut it into pieces. I always find the best way to do this is cut it into, and then do sort of 2 even-sized logs first, I suppose, because we want about a dozen of hot cross buns out of this. So once you get to that stage, you can then divvy this up into 6. It's a lot easier if you do that rather than trying to cut chunks out of dough. So in like that, and you can take a little bit from one if one's a bit smaller than the other one, like that one, and break it all up like that. So you want about 12. This recipe will make 12 of these. So straight down the middle, cut it through like that. And you can trim off these ones and add a little bit to the smaller ones where you see fit. So once you get to that stage, like that, then take a touch of butter into our tray. I use this instead of paper. You can use greaseproof paper if you want, but just a good amount of butter on a tray like that. Now, this is entirely up to you whether you want your hot cross buns to stick together. You know, it's the size of the tray. If you don't, then use a bigger tray or split these into 2. But if If you want them classically like that and they're all sort of stuck together, this is the way to do it. So not too small a tray. And then what you want to do is just bring this mixture together. Now, the temptation is always to add too much flour to this board, or I like to do it on a metal surface like that because it keeps the dough quite cool. And we can bring this together and you mould this up. So you want a tiny bit of flour in your hands and then you just shape the dough like that. So as I'm doing it, you roll in this round like that. Now, just to show you again, you start the dough like this. I press it in the palm of my hand, and as it presses, it compresses like that, and put pressure on it, and as it compresses, you're rolling it. And while you're doing that, you're actually cupping your hand at the same time. If it starts to stick, a little bit of flour on your hand, and you can see by doing that, you just cup your hand, and it'll bring it together. So you start off with a piece of dough like this, press it down, and then cup your hand, and it goes into a little ball like that. So, again, when you get more practice at it, you can do both hands. But compress, you've actually got to put quite a bit of pressure on it. And the issue when you're doing it, you probably don't put enough pressure on it first of all, and the dough ends up just rolling around the bench. So if it's like this and it doesn't happen, you've got to really press on it and then lift it up. It starts to stick, just a bit of flour on your hands, like that. And you're just doing that. And you keep doing these. Been a pastry chef for a long time, so it's kind of, it becomes second nature when you've got about hundreds of these to do at 3 o'clock in the morning. But you just roll it around like that and mould them up. And they go into a nice little ball like that. Then, like I said, if you want them stuck together, which this is, then do it this way or a bigger tray, and it'll stop that. They'll separate out a little bit more. So once you get to that stage, what you have to do then, like the ones next to it, you prove them again. And that's what these are. So these have been left out. You can, again, put these in the fridge if you want. You can retard them. They'll still prove. They'll probably take about an hour at room temperature, something like that, an hour and 20 minutes. If they go in the fridge, they'll probably do that for about 4 or 5 hours, even overnight, on the retard. So it just takes about 4 or 5 times as long. So once you get to that stage, you can see these have at least doubled in size. Then we can turn our attention to this. This is our sort of, the cross on the top. I've got some plain flour, a touch of water. That's all it is. And there's no real set recipe for this because, again, like I said to you, the flour absorbs different amounts of liquid, and what you want to do is just mix this together to a paste, like that. But you want it a pipeable paste. If the dough's too thick, you'll never, ever pipe it out. If it's too thin, it becomes too runny. So keep your eye on this. And it's better to do it just by touch, feel, eye. And the more you do it, it becomes second nature. It's actually really simple to make hot cross buns. They're actually an enriched yeast dough. It's very, very straightforward. So once you get to that stage, you're looking for this pipeable mixture, which we got there, that sort of paste. Get yourself a piping bag. And I always like to do this after it proves. So sometimes you can do this before, but I think it's better off just before it goes in the oven. You want to do this. So on the top, like that. And then using a small little hole, trying not to make the hole too big. You want a small little hole in it. That's enough. You want this even stream of dough. There we go. And then all we do is start at one end and work your way through. So if you've done these in lines, you start there and you pipe over the top, like that. So as you're doing it, don't worry about going onto the board. It doesn't onto the tray itself. It doesn't matter. You can keep rolling these over because as it cooks, they'll prove up and cover that up anyway, like that. So again, this way, and you get your simple cross on it. Now, like I said, you can make these even the day before. Pop them in the fridge once you get to that stage. And then when you cook them, you can just finish them off like this once they've proved. And you have hot cross buns. So you can retard it by putting it in the fridge. So don't feel as if you can make these and you actually got to cook them straight away. Because when what we can do, set the oven. The oven's set at 200 degrees, so quite a hot oven. Now, they look nothing when they come out because the glaze is the important bit. So quite a hot oven, 200 degrees. These are going to take about 25 to 30 minutes to cook. Middle shelf, straight in there. Now, we end up with these. These came out of the oven about sort of 10 minutes ago. Then what we can do is then bring these alive. And these is using this little glaze that we've got over here. So I'll get our chopping board. And our glaze is a combination of just sugar and water. It's a classic stock syrup, this, thick stock syrup like this. And we just glaze them. And you can see when you just take the sugar and the water that's just been boiled up to produce this sticky glaze, they really zing. Now, a lot of people think you egg wash these. You don't egg wash them at all. You just put the glaze on afterwards. And if you want to warm them in the oven again, sometimes the glaze will fall off, so you just have a little bit more glaze, so when they come back out of the oven, then just re-glaze them, but only warm them about sort of 130, 140 degrees, something like that. And then you can lift these all off, pull them apart, and you have your classic hot cross bun. Like that. So you just break them all off. And they're, like I said, lovely when they're warm, absolutely, which these are, delicious, but so simple to make. And there we have it. Easy as that. You can see they're nice and steaming on there, and I'll break you one open, but look. Look. Lovely and hot. Perfect dough in the centre, whether you have them warm like that, a little bit of butter, it's entirely up to you. But there we have it, the simple hot cross bun. Happy Easter, everybody. Now, if there's anything you'd like to learn about in a little masterclass, then do get in touch. We see if we can help out right here on the show. Time now for a quick break, but join me again in a couple of minutes when Romy Gill will be wowing us for a recipe for pakoras. But before that, the best part about this, these are really good. Welcome back. Now I'll be serving up a show-stopping lamb masala for my guest David Baddiel very shortly. But first, I'm here with Emily and Merlin, and we're looking forward to this because we're about to try another cracking recipe from a chef whose food and personality always puts a smile on your face, and she lights up the room wherever she goes. It's the brilliant Romy Gill. Yay! Now I'm looking forward to this one because it's carbs on carbs.
It is.
I never thought I would see you do potatoes in bread, deep fried. This is epic.
This is Punjabi street food in India. It's just wonderful. This is how I grew up in India, eating these things. What I have here is already cooked and mashed potatoes. Okay. And while I'm making this, will you be able to make me chutney later?
You want me to do a simple little chutney with spring onions, coriander, mint, chilli, lemon, sugar, a little bit of yoghurt.
Yes, please.
And then what's the spice you put in your little chutney?
You can put cumin, coriander, it's entirely up to your garam masala, anything like that. Okay. Just whatever you like.
Whatever you like, you just chuck it all in.
A little bit of coriander in there.
Now, Merlin, I know you're eagerly looking at this. You're a big fan of Indian food, aren't you?
I'm a huge fan. When I lived there, I got addicted to your... there's a lovely little street dish you do called pani puris, which, again, little potato, hollowed-out potato things, aren't they? Full of jeera water and chickpeas and bits and bobs. And I see you have the spice there they use. What's it called? I
just use the... chaat masala, yes. Chaat masala is such a wonderful spice. I added some ground coriander in there. I think the coriander is such a sweet spice that works really well with potatoes.
Romy, does it matter? Is your potato cold or hot? Can you just cook your potatoes and then go for it, or is it better cold?
I think you have to leave it to room temperature a little bit. Yeah. What happens, otherwise the bread gets a little soggy if it's really hot. So I really think...
Room temperature in India is about 40 degrees. I've been there.
Some salt in there. I think seasoning is very, very important.
See, the street food movement in India fascinates me.
It is, isn't it?
I've only witnessed a little bit of it, but just the whole thing of it. But it's still very, very zonal, isn't it? You know, you love your I mean, India's massive, but what I'm saying is you're very proud at the particular areas where the food comes from and...
Absolutely. All the people speak different languages. We eat different food. The techniques are different. So everything is really, really different. So that's done. So I'm going to make my batter now. Oh, Merlin, you can do me one thing. I'm also going to make some chai.
You're putting it to use, sir, yeah?
Yes. I've got some spices there. Do you know what spices they are?
So what have you got in there?
I've got cinnamon.
I'm just going to see Merlin is...
Cinnamon, cassia.
Is amazing at making cocktails, so let him say which spices.
Black cardamom.
Yes.
So that's smoked.
Yes.
Yeah, nice. Green cardamom. What's the small seeds here?
They are ajwain. They are the carom seeds or bishop's weed.
Okay.
So people say differently. So always when you're using a basin, which is gram flour, always like save it like this because otherwise you have lumps and when you're making the batter, it's not great then. So do that. And then I have baking powder. I'm just going to make sure I put some seasoning.
Merlin's making this for the drink that goes with it, not for this.
No, I'm going to make chai. You know chai?
Yeah.
Like English tea. So people say chai tea, which means...
My mum used to make it for me every evening before bed when I was a kid. She used to make chai instead of hot chocolate.
So this is where we differ, you see. You used to get,
Would you get a lump of coal?
Not a cup of chai. So this is what is this the deep frying batter? Is it?
It is the deep frying batter.
Okay. That's that.
That's that, and then.
Do you want me to move the crusts off here, or?
Yes, please, if you could do that for me.
Okay.
And the fryer is on. And please don't say, can we put it in the oven and make it? These things have to be deep fried. You know, if you're going to eat samosas or pakoras, they've got to deep fry. And then you're going to cut them into triangles for me, please,
Chef,
as well.
No problem. Like that?
Yes, please.
There you go.
So what you do is put all the filling. If you want to keep the crust, you can keep the crust as well. It's entirely up to you. And then that goes on the top.
Whoa.
Is that the right one?
It's going to be so good.
It's going to be so good, isn't it? Look at this.
Yeah, that's the right
It's got to be deep fried. It's interesting to see, yeah, because people used to keep it. You keep traditionally a pot of fat, wouldn't you, on the stove for doing the odd bit of deep frying at home. And these days, would this work in an air fryer? I'm guessing not.
I'm off. See you later.
Please don't ask me about air fryer. No. Absolutely not. That goes in the hot frying
The real deal.
Exactly.
Right, so your oil, what you have the oil about what 70, 180?
170, 180 first. Make sure it's high temperature. And just before you're going to fry it, just make sure the temperature goes a little bit down because then it cooks slowly and it's nice and crispy.
Right. Probably want a little bit more water in here, I presume, do you?
Yeah.
A little bit more water in there. So is this like a dipping sauce that I'm making? Is that's the idea of it?
We'll have a dipping sauce plus we'll have ketchup.
Right, a bit of that.
The best butty.
Yeah, it's a fried potato sandwich with ketchup. This is... Love it.
Isn't it brilliant?
I love these as well. But I suppose you could make these in advance, couldn't you, and just warm them through in the oven? That's the...
Yes. And that baking powder will give that crispiness to it as well.
Look at that, you just turn them over.
Yes.
And this is I presume it's the potatoes, the filling for street food, that's the go-to filling for this, or?
People will do paneer as well. They'll grate paneer and put that in as well.
Right.
But usually it's potatoes and either paneer.
Can I make one as well?
Yes, please.
So you're just putting what, a little...
Make sure it's all the way around, and then you dab it so it doesn't fall off, and then you fry it. Just going to leave that for a minute.
So as well as doing all this and everything else you're doing, you've got a new book you're working on. I love your books, but you've got a new one later on this year.
So this recipe is in my new book, which is coming out in September.
So basically you're using this show as a test bed, are you? Is that what you're trying to do?
Yes. But I can't say the name yet. Not allowed to share it.
Why
but
not?
I don't know. So the spices are going to go in there. So I'm going to add, because
tell me about the drink that you're making with it then.
The chai is an Indian tea that is drank all over India in very different ways. So we'll add spices. Every state will have different spices. So I have here black cardamom, green cardamoms, cinnamon, which is cassia bark as well, and fennel and carom seeds. Now I'm going to add some sugar. We put sugar in the tea. I know you said you don't like too much sugar, so I'll use less sugar in there. We will usually use tea, loose tea, but I'm using tea bags. Couple of them in there. And a lot of milk.
Yeah, he's an institution in India, isn't he? The chaiwala.
Chaiwalas, yeah.
Catch them on the corner of the street. Everyone meets up and has a little... And they're tiny. They're really tiny little cups of tea as well, like 2 or 3 ounces.
Yes.
Really mini ones.
Like little shots of tea.
Yeah.
What about you, Emily? You travel a lot. Have you been to India?
I haven't been to India, so it's on my...
Fascinating, though, don't you
definitely on my... a place to definitely I want to go. But yeah, just it's vibrant. I love the positivity. I love the community.
The craziness of it as well
It's the
just surprised me.
craziness,
It's just, you think, I love it, and the people make the place, and certainly in India it's definitely the case. It's beautiful. Right, are they all right?
Yeah.
So I'll make another one. I'll stand in the corner.
So you wanted me to do what chaiwala do, right?
Can you... Love it. It's nice because it aerates. It aerates the drink, so it's softer when you drink it.
So just to recap what you've got on there, if you did this with paneer, what would you do it exactly the same with potato, or what?
No, with paneer you can add potato, but I usually add some onions, ginger, fresh ginger. So it's different. You can add spring onions, coriander, lots of different things, but not potato. I do the paneer one very separately, but some people do add potatoes and paneer together.
Right.
But some people I've seen using cauliflower as well. Grate the cauliflower with the potatoes and they'll add that and do that as well.
So you just stick this together, and I presume well, you just stick it together and it just holds together, which is just lovely. Sit there.
I love the idea of cauliflower. That's really
The little
really,
bit of cauliflower would be great. Yeah. Right. So what are you doing now then?
Tea.
All tea stuff.
This is a little bit hot. Be careful.
Thank you.
If you want to add more milk, you can add a bit more milk.
So
I can give you
one
that.
of those as well.
Amazing,
This
James.
looks absolutely... I have to say, this looks
There's some more
absolutely
milk.
fantastic. And we've got the final one over there.
See,
as well.
with the baking powder, what happens is, or bicarb, it gives you that crispiness.
I absolutely love that. So give us the name of this dish.
This is called Punjabi bread pakora, and the last but not the least is the most amazing chaat masala that you sprinkle just before you're going to eat.
So the recipe's in the new book. We don't know what it is, when it is, but it's coming out this year.
It's coming out on 12th of September.
There you go. But either way, this woman's an absolute star. Romy, everybody! I'm going to nick one of those, and I'm going to pass you the rest, if that's all right. So we'll pass them over. You've got one over there, Romy. Dive into that. That looks all right, doesn't it?
That looks all right.
We'll take a little dollop of this, shall we?
This is finger food, man.
Yeah,
It is finger food, no knife and fork, please.
No.
And dip, and try with ketchup first, and then with the chutney as well.
Is this a spiced ketchup?
This is just normal ketchup. See, you'll know, understand what I mean.
Well, that's so good. Bit of ketchup.
How good is that?
Great fun.
It's delicious.
So simple.
Yeah.
Well, it's ace, though, isn't it? It's just potatoes in bread and deep fried. It's just...
Yeah.
With that, it's delicious, absolutely delicious. Romy Gill, everybody. There we have it. We've still got time for one more final course, so join us again after the break. I might need your help for this one, because we're rustling up an epic lamb masala for David Veal. I'll see you in a bit. This is unbelievable.
Epic.
Welcome back now to the last part of the show, sadly. But I'm back in the kitchen with all my guests, Romy, Merlin, Emily, and of course, David Baddiel. And I thought I'd top and tail the show with lamb. I mean, this amazing producer of Salt Mash Lamb earlier. We're going to use the rack of lamb for this. I'm going to do a masala-style lamb, and you're going to help me make the sauce. Is that
Absolutely.
Right? So I knew you're a big fan of sort of...
I'm a massive fan of curry.
Curries,
Indian food in general.
Well, we've got a genius behind the hubs now, so I'm not doing it. All I'm going to do is chop onions and chop a little bit of garlic, and you're going to make this amazing little sauce with it as well. So you use full-on butter for this?
I'm I'm going to use butter. I think butter is nice. If we had ghee, we would have used ghee. But butter, everybody has in their home, and a good amount of butter.
But it's got to be the right ghee, don't you, if you use it?
Yes, it's not clarified butter, which we get in this country. I think using a proper ghee gives you a different flavour.
It's like fermented, isn't it?
Yes.
The stuff that you...
It is also the way it is made, the process is completely different. So butter is fine because everyone has butter in there.
Yeah.
OK?
All right, so I've got a little bit of spice that I'm going to use for my one as well. So I'm just going to take a few little bits of spices over here. A little bit of that. Same as spices you're going to put in the sauce, really. Just a few bits and pieces. I'm going to then put with the yoghurt and put it over the top of the lamb. That's going to go with that. So I'm going to mix all that lot together. Now, we talked earlier about this. It's not really a tour. It's like a residency, a 3-day residency. Those people who are just waking up. This is a monster thing that you're doing as well.
Yeah. Well, it's, you know... it might be, because I love doing stand-up, but I don't know whether I want to keep doing it into my dotage. And so it might be the last stand-up I do, but I don't know. And it is, yeah, it's the trilogy of shows that I've done over the last 10 years, recorded for TV. But to actually record on TV, I have to do a different show every night, twice a night as well. And so, you know, it's been going well. It's been good. It's just a bit tiring.
We talked earlier about the comedy circuit and bits and pieces, but we didn't talk earlier about your love of music, because your love of music is equally as strong.
Well, obviously, I like to mention that I have had 4 number ones. It's the same song over and over again, but who cares about detail?
Yeah, well, I believe, am I right to think it's the only song that's ever...
So, as far as I understand it, I don't want to seem like Cliff Richard here with my statistics, but as far as I know, Live Aid and Three Lions are the only songs to go to number 1 4 times, but Live Aid is with a bunch of different artists. Three Lions, it's the same old 3 blokes every time, and so I think that's better.
Where was the moment for you? Was that when you went to number 1, or was it must have been?
I'll tell you what the moment was for me, and I do talk about this in my show, my first show, which is about fame and about the weirdness of being, you know, slightly more well known than other people. Is that moment for me was we'd released it, it had come out, it had gone to number 1, but then it had dropped, and we thought, oh well, that's over, but it was nice, and then Euro 96 started, and England weren't playing very well, like they always don't. We thought, yeah, this is bad. And then they played Scotland in the second game, and they weren't playing very well in the first half of that. And then, basically, Gazza scored one of the greatest goals of all time.
That was the one...
Yeah, that one. England won, and as they came off, the DJ, whose name I don't know, which is bad for the biopic, but anyway, he put Three Lions on, and the whole crowd joined in, apart from the Scottish fans. The whole crowd joined in, and at that point, me and Frank and Ian Brody had no idea that the song had been taken to the heart.
No idea that it was actually going to...
No, we didn't know. This is the first time this crowd ever sung it. And people say the best day of your life is when your children are born. Sod that. That was the best day of my life. No, it was really great. That was when I knew that the song had done something quite unusual, which is it had, from the ground up, you know, like a grassroots thing. People had taken it to their hearts.
It did. I mean, every 96, we really remembered that and that. Yeah, it's just... But you managed to pursue all different genres as well. We talked a little bit about the books as well. We've got to mention that again, because you've sort of re-released the first kids...
Yeah, the first kids book is called The Parent Agency, and I think as a celebration of the fact that I've been writing kids books for 10 years, the publishers have re-released that with some new bits, and the new bits are actually from a musical. So what I did was, partly out of laziness, is rather than writing completely new chapters, I thought, well, I've written, because it's waiting to go on, it'll be on next year, hopefully, with Dan Gillespie Sells. He's the guy who wrote Everyone's Talking About Jamie. He's a brilliant composer. So he's written the music, and I've written the book for the Parent Agency musical. And basically, I just stuffed 2 bits from the musical into the book, and the lead character, who's called Barry, who's an 11-year-old boy, just bursts into song in the middle of this story as a sort of teaser, really, for the musical. Because actually, I really love musicals. I've written one before. I wrote a movie called The Infidel, and that was then a musical at Stratford. It's really a joy. Because when you write things, and then they're taken into film or taken into TV, it's very exciting. But when it's a musical, when people have actually added songs and choreography and dancing, as a writer, you sort of can't believe it. You thought, like, oh, I just wrote this on my laptop, and now look what people are doing.
It's like a chef writing a recipe. You've got an idea in your head, you've got an idea in your head. It's that recipe, and you bring it all together and you serve it. It's anticipation, trepidation. Is it going to work? Isn't it going to work? And then you serve it to somebody and you go, Yeah, that's all right. That's working there. It's the same.
No, it is. Seeing something realised is actually amazing. And particularly when you've collaborated with a lot of people on it. It's amazing.
Well, we just so happened to have knocked up a not a bad little sauce in about 2 seconds. How the hell did you do that?
So you slice some onions, some garlic, some tomatoes, and the spices that you used in your marination that went into a little bit of cream. So I think the cream just gives that.
So do you put more butter in it to finish it, or is that
Yeah, I
more
did
or less...
put more butter.
A big chunk of it's gone out there. So I've got my lamb over here. You cover this over, and then basically I've roasted this for about 30 minutes in the oven. And I've got one resting over here. My pilau rice over there. We've put some onions and the garlic and everything else in there, the spices. Brought to the boil, just switched off. I like to just bring it to the boil and just let it tick over about 2 minutes, then turn it off.
We need to blitz that and make it into like a really nice creamy sauce, I think.
You want me to do that?
Yes,
Because it's going to go all over me then?
Yes.
That's the reason why you want me to do it, yeah. So I'll just blitz it up.
So normally a lamb masala would be a stewed lamb, but this is a roast lamb.
Yeah, you can do in so many different ways. If you're like doing slow cooking, like when you're doing anything at home, I prefer to have a leg of lamb. So it's like with the sauce, sorry, James. So it just works slowly and steadily. And the thing about onions as well, but people make lot mistakes, is with Indian sauce, you have to cook the onions on a very, very high heat. If you're not cooking on a high heat, so the onions will absorb all the oil, the butter, ghee, whatever you're using. So cook your onions on a very, very high heat, and then add all the other things.
Right.
So that will help you not only cook your sauce quicker, but have to continuously stir at the same time. So you can make different ways of spices and use.
So, look, we've just got a little sauce over here as well. So that's our nice little bit of sauce that somebody's just rustled up next to me over here. And then I'm going to take our lamb, and the idea is this. We can then just take portions of this and carve it up.
That looks great.
You've got
It does, doesn't it?
a nice little chunk of lamb.
So that's a local provider.
So this is Welsh lamb, yeah. So this we've had them on the show earlier on. So this is salt marsh lamb, and that just sits with that. Should we drizzle it with a little bit of oil?
Yes, please.
So salt marsh lamb.
Yeah, salt marsh.
That doesn't mean that they are reared on salty marshes.
It is.
It does mean that.
Reared on salt marshes. Yeah,
Right.
yeah. It's in southern Wales, and they produce this lamb slowly matured. It is one of the nicest bits of lamb you'll ever taste. It's absolutely delicious. So what you do with that is you just, you simply just cover it over, leave it to cook like that, and there we have it. Salt marsh lamb with pilau rice and a what sauce?
Masala sauce.
Easy as that. Job done. Easy as that. Bon appetit.
Oh, thank you.
Dive in.
Yes.
Dive in.
Thank you.
I hope so. Tell me what you think.
Thank you, chef.
Wales via India via Yorkshire.
Yeah.
It'd be interesting. You love lamb as well. It'd be interesting to think of this because we had this at the beginning of the show. I did it with hay. I thought it was absolutely amazing. But I think this, with your lovely little sauce, dip that in there and have a taste of that.
So you guys are first in on the lamb. I've got to be honest, the first thing I'm trying is the sauce. Remy, that's amazing.
No, I'm trying it all. What's this?
This is how you're supposed to eat.
That's so good with that.
It's really good.
The lamb is so good.
You know, I'm just going to say the sauce is brilliant, just to upset James.
I know it is. That's why she did it, not me.
But the lamb is great as well.
Yeah, it's delicious. Isn't it?
The lamb is so tender, so nice.
It is delicious, isn't it? There we go. Perfect end to a perfect day. There we go. That's all we've got time for today. A massive thank you to all my guests. We'll see you back here at the same time next Saturday morning. We'll be celebrating the Easter weekend with more top chefs, other brilliant guests. Until then, have a great weekend. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next week at my house. Bye for now. It's good, that, isn't it?